Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Hoodie London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders. I have been focusing on Xana and Ethan's timeline because I believe that is crucial to this case. The police was asking the public for help with the timelines of these two victims. It states here on Saturday, November 12th, 2022, a home football game started at 4 p.m. and ended at 7:12 p.m. Ethan's sister, sorority had a ball called Betty's Ball at Kappa Alpha Theta. Ethan's mom said in an interview that Ethan was his sister's date to a formal and that Hunter went with his sister's roommate. They attended the formal but left early. Ellie tells us that Ethan and Xana were at Sigma Chi party from 8 to 9 p.m. Perhaps they went to the sorority party after this, which explains the 4 hours and 45 minutes time gap. Or Xana's dad told her mom that he thinks they went to a bar. This could have been for the ball, or did they split ways for a bit? These details are important to clarify the timeline of where Xana and Ethan were and what time they got back home, because the police said that all the 4 victims were back by 1:45, but Kaylee Congalv's sister, Aliveria, said that Kaylee and Maddie, may the rest in peace, came home around 1:56. The question is, was Xana and Ethan at home already before the girls? Where did the police get the information that all the victims were home by 1:45? Because we clearly saw Maddie and Kaylee at the grub truck till 1:52, I believe, and it took them a couple of minutes to get home. There was a 911 call to the Sigma Chi at 3:01 that morning. What was the reason the call came in? We allegedly heard in the beginning that there was a fight. If that is the case, who was involved in the fight? I really feel so sorry for Hunter and his sister Sarah. The fact that they lost their brother, who was the oldest of the triplets, and Hunter was one of the people who came to the scene at 12 a.m. or 12 in the afternoon, before the 911 call was made to the police. May God bless these families. They've been through a lot. And may justice be served. because this process, I believe, can carry on till 2025, if not longer. Or 2024, if you're lucky. These are the three Jacks. We have Jack, Kaylee's former boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. They shared the dog together. Maddie and Kaylee made 10 calls between 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. and there was no answers to Jack D. He lives right there, not far from there, just 2-3 minutes away. Although he was ruled out, he was one of the last people to be ruled out. Then we have this Jack, was his name Jack Kolovish or something like that? Jack K. He was a frat friend of Eaton's. He was the first person to make a Venmo or send a Venmo amount on Eaton's name. His sister sent him a Venmo. That was weird. He allegedly started the GoFundMe for Eaton. He was the first to donate $6. Police never mentioned him, although. And then we have Jack John Showalter Jr. People call him the white hoodie guy. He was from the food truck. He had a bunch of red flags, has a history of anger issues, lives right there in the blocks where Inan Harsh lives. He was allegedly kicked out of the fraternity. He was kicked out allegedly of the corner club that night too, for harassment. Interesting. And please do not believe he's a suspect. Although Kaylee's father, Steve Congalvis, believed he was ruled out too soon, so do I. He shouldn't have been ruled out too soon. I remember allegedly him saying his timeline was that he drove to Boise, Idaho around 2 a.m. and he reached there around 7 a.m. I wonder if anyone could confirm that, if the police have footages or surveillance showing that he drove out of town. Because it was his mom that confirmed it. Is that credible enough? Is the question. He loves using knives, playing with knives. Yeah, using knives for hunting and playing with knives in general. I remember seeing all his Facebook pictures and he deleted them or he kept them in privacy. Doesn't mean that he's guilty, but he definitely has the symptoms of antisocial personality disorder, allegedly. You can see that he enjoys hunting, which there's no crime in that, but by him, hunting shows that he has skills of using knives. Strangely enough, he has pictures of K-bar knives while hunting. And he was acting really fishy, honestly, in the grub truck. Some people believe he was just innocently escorting the girls, but I do not believe that the girls would run away from someone that they feel comfortable with. someone who's supposed to be looking out for them. This is something I've been thinking about recently. Before the students were brutally murdered in the house on the 13th of November, they used to have these lights on. So I'm just thinking, if these lights were always on, wouldn't have that made it more difficult for the suspect or suspects, the killer, to have come in through the sliding door if these lights were on? Because that would just draw attention. So did the killer wait for all these lights to go off? But these lights were on till morning, till the daylight. What is so interesting is, if you see that blue light opposite the field, that is the Sigma Chi. Look at how close it is to the victim's house. That is a very short distance from the house. So if allegedly anyone came back to retaliate after the fight with Eaton, allegedly, they would have just had a short distance to come and a short distance to go back from. But how come all these neighbors around did not hear anything besides the neighbor on the side that had a dash cam? We heard Kaylee's father saying that there was a hell of a fight going on in the house. We know that Xana had defensive wounds, may she rest in peace. So what took exactly place that night? And why isn't anyone coming forward with what they heard? Are they scared? Do they know these people? Or were they told not to talk? Was everyone put on a gag order? Inan Harsh said he heard a scream. But he mentioned that later on. He didn't mention it to the police when he was asked. He mentioned it first on the Hidden True Crimes interview. How could somebody forget something so valuable like that? That is extremely important information if you heard a scream. Let's keep in mind, there were many students who used to come to this house to visit, to party, and they all seem to have had the code to enter. doesn't make sense to me that the police gave us the timelining that it happened between 3 to 4 a.m. for at least a good 7 weeks. And then it changed to 5 past 4. How do we even know that Xana Kernodle made the DoorDash order? Couldn't somebody have made it on her Visa card? It's possible. Couldn't someone have pretended that the Xana was on TikTok? Wouldn't we have seen the DoorDash delivery drive in? We saw BK driving in, allegedly. And how could BK have done a quadruple murder in a matter of a couple of minutes? It doesn't add up. Not for me, at least. What really took place in that house that horrific night? Who was the target, or who were the targets? Was this a crime of passion? Was Kaylee the target because she was leaving town? Allegedly, was Maddie the target? Was Xana and Ethan the target because of the fight they allegedly had in Sigma Chi? What are we missing here? Was BK working with someone? Or did BK know Bethany Funk? Why does he want to speak to her? Why is her statement unique from Dylan's? What does she see? Or did BK come to see her? Did she call BK maybe? We did actually see BK, allegedly, his car come to the area. But what was the purpose he came? Doesn't necessarily mean he came to do a quadruple murder. BK has enough knowledge how to handle a crime scene. Why would he just decide to leave his leather knife sheath behind? Why would he decide to stay and hang around for 6 more weeks in Washington Pullman, knowing that there's a manhunt for the quadruple murders? Why was the front door left wide open? Could it be possible that Bethany Funk heard all the loud noises upstairs and understood that something happened and she ran out for her safety? Was it the 4 figures that ran out? Because they were coming from this direction, allegedly. I believe the sound travels far around this house. People would have heard something taking place, because let's not forget, every time there's a party or loud music, neighbors were good at calling the police. Why not that night? Were people scared for their lives? Did people know what was going down? Did the killer use this path to come down quietly, maybe climb up to Maddie's room? We saw David Lodge sitting out on that couch, on that leather couch, and it didn't seem like there was a party or anything going on. I think he was sitting there while the girls were sleeping. Was he the people? Inan Harsh said it was easy. It would have been easy to come in from the sliding door. He said if it was him, he would have come in from the sliding door. He said that doors and windows are left unlocked in Idaho, Moscow. How would he know that? Has he been touching all the doors and windows? Poor neighbors, they look shocked. The girl with the blonde, not the blonde hair, sorry, the girl with the long hair, looks like she's not only shocked, she looks to me as though she could see something like this coming. Or like she knows who did it. But she can't talk. That's what I believe. That's my personal opinion. The guy who lives there was actually in the grub truck video. You see him towards the end. He comes and even picks up his food near Kaylee and Maddie when they're standing. But he doesn't talk to them. So he was awake. They all were awake up to 2 o'clock, I would believe. I wonder what they really heard. Poor them, they know everything, but I'm sure they're on a gag order too.
Lengthy court battle from the defense team of alleged Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger. His team attempting to force the surviving housemate of the Forest Lane University of Idaho students to testify in his defense at a preliminary hearing in June. That roommate, Bethany Funk, is fighting against it, filing her own motion to quash the subpoena in Washoe County, Nevada.
There's a good chance this judge will quash the subpoena because the net effect to the witness may be to terrify her, even if that's not the intent.
It's unclear when the Washoe County judge will make a decision. According to an affidavit, Funk was in a first-floor bedroom of the apartment house during the early morning of the murders on November 13th. A criminal investigator for Kohberger's defense writes that Funk has information that is, quote, exculpatory to the defendant, and adds it's, quote, unique to her experiences and cannot be provided by another witness. NBC News reached out to Kohberger's attorney, but has not received a response. He has yet to enter a plea for his June 26th hearing. Funk was ruled out as a suspect early on, police say, and her lawyers say the defense's claims are without support. They also argue the court does not have the authority to summon a Nevada witness to Idaho for a preliminary hearing. She would potentially have to stay for the duration of Kohberger's trial.
One reason the defense may want to call this witness is they have some reason to believe that she'll testify inconsistently with what she's told police in the past. If that were to happen while she's under oath, that would be a really big benefit to the defense because now they'll have something to cross-examine her with at trial.
Funk and the other surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen, have not spoken publicly about the case, but honored their fallen friends in letters read by a pastor at a church vigil.
They all lit up any room they walked into and were gifts to this world. I wish every day that I could give them all one last hug and say how much I love them.
Investigators have not said whether Kohberger knew the victims or why he would have targeted them, and a motive is yet to be revealed. It was on a knife sheath left at the crime scene to him. The murder weapon, police say, believed to be a knife, has yet to be found.
Nyla Charles joins us now from L.A. Nyla, do we know any more details on why the defense has called Bethany Funk to testify and not the other roommate?
Tom, because the judge issued a gag order in January barring anyone involved with the case from making statements, we don't know what Funk saw or didn't see, but clearly the defense finds it beneficial to their case.
Moscow, Idaho. Detectives are interested in speaking with the occupants of a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra with the unknown license plate. Tips and leads have led investigators to look for additional information about a vehicle being in the immediate area of the King Street residence during the early morning hours of November 13th. Investigators believe that the occupants of this vehicle may have critical information to share regarding this case. If you know or own a vehicle matching this description or know of anyone who may have been driving this vehicle on that night, on the day's proceeding, on the day of the murders, please forward that information to the tip line. You can clearly see it says detectives are interested in speaking with the occupants with the S. So there was more than one person in the car. It couldn't have been Brian Kohberger for me. And it was a 2011 to a 2013 Hyundai Elantra. It wasn't a 2015. Doesn't add up.
The 4 murdered University of Idaho students have electronic locks like this. Posted this photo and says all 6 bedrooms had combination locks. It's believed the students had a lock on their door similar to this. This is a keypad lock, and I'm at AAA Architectural Hardware in Manhattan with Richard Brown, who is the owner. Are these things reliable?
They're very reliable when they're installed properly and when they're used properly. You press the code that was pre-programmed in, push down on the lever handle, open the door, and then close the door behind you.
I wonder how many people knew the code of the victims' bedroom doors. I'm sure their friends, some of the friends knew that, and they could have given it to the wrong people. Many people used to come and visit the victims. Could it be possible that they had the room codes? Did the surviving roommates have the room codes or the key codes? Is that possible? The Sigma Chi isn't far from the girl's house. Those 2 blocks where Enan Harsh and John Showalter lived wasn't far. That was very close to the girl's property. Then we have Jack D, who lives on the right-hand side, on those short blocks. Just saying, allegedly, there were too many people that the victims knew who lived near them. It doesn't make them killers, but everyone should be considered as a suspect here, or as a person of interest. Especially since there was 3 unidentified male DNAs found inside and outside the house. I always believe it was someone local, someone who lives nearby. I'm not saying Brian Koberger is innocent, but I'm not ready to say he's guilty yet. I need to see more evidence. There was too many activities happening that night for anyone to be ruled out. The 4 figures was running from that direction, from the girl's house, Kings Road, right down, straight down, between the grey house and the white houses there, just in between there. And they were going towards this direction, towards the grey house, so they could be coming back to the Sigma Chi house. And we know a fight took place there at 3:01. Justice for the victims. May justice be served, the correct justice. Peace be upon them. May they rest in peace. And condolence to their families and their loved ones. They didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves such a horrific, awful death. And today, there was that hearing in court about having cameras in the court. Brian Koberger doesn't want cameras because people are taking pictures of his private areas, which obviously is concerning him and is bothering. I don't think that's fair. But I believe transparency is important. That's the only way to get to the truth of this and to get justice for these 4 victims. We shouldn't be focusing on Brian's height, weight, if his zip is open or not. That shouldn't be our interest. Our interest should be focusing on who unlived these 4 innocent victims so that they can get justice. And so that Brian Koberger can get justice if he's innocent, or can be charged if he's guilty. Please like, share, and subscribe.